Welcome to the RotoGrinders Daily Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Sammy Reid. Joining me is Nate Nohling. Davis Maddock is a little trick, and he says he's sick, so he's not on the podcast. But me and Nate are here. It's the middle of the night, Nate. The baseball game just ended like 10 minutes ago. We are delirious and on tilt. How are you, buddy?
I mean, this was incredible. This was an incredible game. This has to go down. I thought game 2 was going to go down in like probably the top 5 baseball games I've ever watched, including some of last year's Cubs run, but this was unreal.
Okay. Greater or less great than, and I know you're a biased Cubs fan, but game 7 of last year.
Game 7.
Okay. Does it slot in?
Can't touch game 7, but it slots in. It slots up there in the top 3 probably.
What was the year that the Twins, was that 91? That the Twins went to game 7 and Jack Morris pitched that 10-inning shutout.
Some of us aren't 53 years old and don't remember back that far.
Kind of walked into that one, didn't I? was it 1953 or 1954?
But seriously, I was like, going into this series, it was a little tough as a Cubs fan because like you want to, and I'm like, oh, watching the World Series after this is going to be hard, but this has been unreal.
This is absolutely incredible. This is the first game since game 1, I've been able to watch front to back. I just had all this stuff to do that I didn't want to do, but I had to do. And I felt like I was missing out on so much. And I'm so happy that I got to see this game. I can't even remember what happened now. You know what I mean? Like
the Puig 2-run dong was like the lock of all locks. Like that was just like, you literally, as he comes to the plate, you just like, this doesn't end any other way than him donging here, and sure enough he did.
And he just one-handed it. My Twitter timeline was full of people like bummed out that there were so many homers. How do you feel about that? Are you all right with that?
Block them insta block.
I'm with you.
Anybody could watch that game and say, they juiced the ball, too much fun, too many runs, too much excitement. This has been the most hype I've been for a 5.5-hour baseball game. And I have zero fandom involved here. I don't care who wins. I want the Dodgers to win just so Kershaw can have a ring and everybody can shut their mouth about the greatest pitcher. But,
I hate to say this, but how much better is baseball than football right now?
Wait, was there football today?
Yeah.
Seriously, though.
People were pumped on the Houston-Seattle game for like 35 minutes until the World Series started.
The Houston-Seattle game was about the only watchable game of football today, though.
It really was. Dude, let's try to talk about this baseball game just a touch more. For the listeners, I'm really sorry. I'll level with you. We had no time to prepare for this podcast. We have no idea what's going on. We're just going to BS for like 40, 45 minutes, and that's going to be your podcast today. So if it sucks, it sucks, but this is what it is, dude. What do you think was the single best moment of this game, if you could pick one out?
The single best was probably that Springer jack, just because it was so majestic. It was like, as he hit it, it was just, I got up off the couch.
And right after the inning after, he dove for that ball and blew it, and let the go ahead run score. And it was funny. There were so many people who Marwin Gonzalez let a hit kind of drop in front of him earlier. And they were like, bro, you got to dive for that. Like, you have to dive. It's the World Series. And then Springer did dive, and everyone was like just roasting him. It was a fun little dichotomy. I know it's not the exact same play, but still.
And then in the top of the 9th, I think it'll go kind of missed, but the Austin Barnes sprinting and legging out a double on that when he barely got in there. But if he didn't get the second there, that wouldn't have scored on the Chris Taylor hit. So.
They were down to their last strike, and Chris Taylor just like reaches out and ties the game with this. He stayed on that changeup super good, laced it up the middle. It wasn't like a rope or anything, but dude,
got the job done.
how many people were heroes in this game? Like
Everybody.
Kershaw was the hero, and then Bellinger was the hero, and then Altuve was the hero, and then Chris Taylor was, and then Barnes was, and then
And then the only guy who wasn't was Jansen. Like, how unfortunate is that? The guy, the goat of all goats. Ugh.
And Ken Giles, who I don't know if Ken Giles was actually at the ballpark or not.
There must have been something that happened.
Like, I'm 90% positive that Jose Altuve would have come in to pitch before Ken Giles. It's just like, Jose, dude, come do it.
Yeah. I have no idea what they were doing with Ken Giles. And I think, managerial decisions always get scrubbed away when you get a win like this, but somebody needs to talk about that.
There's so much to unpack.
This management in this game.
Well, and the strike zone was all over the place. And I mean, it was just, dude, this is the craziest freaking game. I can't believe this game. It was like a slow pitch softball game.
It was unreal. Bill Miller just commenting on every single strike call.
No, it's a little low. Actually, I just missed that one. I didn't really see it too well.
The whole game. I mean, there was just so many things. And then my favorite GIF of the whole night is just a fan grabbing the ball from a friend and throwing it back.
His face. I ain't never seen anybody just like so stone-faced mad before. And there's so much good going on there, like he really arm bars his friend and keeps like solid leverage so that the guy can't get in on his body. And
I would do the same thing to any fair weather fan. If I was at a Cubs game and somebody did that next to me, I wouldn't hesitate.
He's just like, give me that damn ball. And then he stiff arms his homie and just like lasers it back onto the field. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It was unreal.
So, I mean, this is wild. The series obviously is going to end in LA. I feel like we have one day off. I'm kind of torn between I'm cool with game 6 starting in like 10 minutes and just doing this again. And, like, we need a bye week.
Yeah, I want Game 6 to start tomorrow. I can't wait. I can't go through my whole day tomorrow without another game.
Like, I feel like I've been doing drugs, like, for 3 days straight, and I'm about to crash, but potentially I'm okay with the party still going too, That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, we'll do one quick thing, one series prediction, and then we'll get on to talking about the lesser sport that also took place today.
Okay.
I still think the Dodgers are going to pull it out. I still think the Dodgers are a better team.
I mean, I think that if you don't think this is going to go to Game 7, you are the fishiest of the fish.
Yep.
There's just no way.
And if it goes to Game 7,
Kershaw's coming back in. Kershaw is gonna pitch. He's gonna do some Bumgarner type stuff. Obviously, if you were gonna bet money, American dollars, the Astros would be favored here. But I'm kind of with you. I have the feeling that the Dodgers are gonna come back and win 2 in Dodger Stadium.
I do too. Yeah, because it'll be Hill tomorrow or Hill the Game 6, and then Darvish probably would start Game 7. So.
And is it Verlander going in 6 for Houston?
Yeah.
Oh, what a game! What a game, dude! I'm so hyped for this, dude.
I want it to start now. I don't want to wait. I'm not going to get anything done over the next 48 hours.
This is unreal. I'm serious. My work productivity has gone way down at my real job and also on this podcast, obviously. So.
But it might just be time, if any of the listeners are still listening, to start talking about the NFL.
All right, we'll do you this small favor and talk a little bit. We're gonna recap. We may or may not talk about the Monday through Thursday slate. I haven't looked at it at all, so let's put all the cards on the table. But let's talk a little bit about today's slate, Nate. I had 146 in DraftKings cash. Is that more or less than what you had?
More than.
All right. Well, let's unpack all the fishy things that you did. Let's talk about your lineup, homie. Let's throw it out there, dude. Okay, first off, what did you do at quarterback?
this week was crazy. I mean, let's just talk real quick, high level view of the slate. DraftKings is super sharp on these pricing recently, and it's really difficult to build a lineup that you don't have some egregious plays in.
That is correct.
It's just really, really difficult. And so all week, it was kind of tough. I was waffling back and forth. There was some weather stuff, but the three quarterbacks I really wanted exposure to were Dalton, Cousins, or Cam. I ended with Dalton in cash, which was the chalk play by far. I mean, he was 40% in double ups, which is pretty insane.
Yes, super high for a quarterback. Yeah, and he
ended
with.
That's my one issue with sharp pricing. I think a lot of people talk about sharp pricing and how much they like it, but I actually think sharp pricing lends towards such clear plays that you're forced into where, a looser salary cap, I think everybody can take their own preferences and things like that. So I actually am not a fan of how sharp DraftKings has gone with some of this.
That's actually a pretty interesting take, Nate, and I think there might be some truth to that. I'm like, dude, I really like sharp pricing because in general, when it's harder to build a lineup, then I think it goes toward more skilled players. But then again, like a lot of the sharp people are like saying stuff on podcasts and writing about it, and a lot of people are gravitating toward those plays.
Yeah. So Andy, I went with Dalton, and then I think did you go with Dalton or did you go with? Okay.
I did go Dalton.
If you went with Russ, you won the week. I think Russ was another option that some people were talking about. If you went with Russ, I don't know what the rest of your roster construction would have looked like. I was never able to fit him. So it was tough because I had the two running backs that I really just had a lock in cash, which was Shady and then Ingram, which Shady worked out. Ingram, I think, did fine for his price, but I think I was hoping for a little bit more with that. Kamara ate some of his work quite a bit.
Yeah, he scavenged that touchdown. There was so much tilt right when the slate started. I'm starting to have some vague memories of some guy named Eric Tomlinson scoring, and then Kamara got a rushing touchdown from 8 or 9 yards out that scavenged Ingram, and somebody else Bush League scored, and I was like, oh, it's going to be that kind of day, is it?
Yeah, it was one of those days.
Yeah. Okay, so I went Ingram and McCoy also. So I think they were both just sick home favorites in good spots against great defenses. I mean, I can't say I don't see the case for anybody else, but I just thought that was the optimal pairing.
Yeah, I mean, the Ingram thing is going to be tough because he's going to hit a certain point with his price here shortly where, Kamara is a legitimate – Kamara had 8 rushing attempts and 3 targets again this week, and he's getting that work. And so I think, from a price tag standpoint, I'm not going to ever be comfortable playing Ingram at the same prices that I'm playing a Shady at, just because Tolbert isn't a legitimate threat like Kamara is. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what to do with Ingram moving forward. But Ingram getting 6 targets is also nice. But Shady's day was made by one long run that he busted. That was great. But even if he didn't bust that, he was still in good shape because he had 7 targets, and he this is what Shady does. He's going to get such diverse workload where you just have to play it 7 targets. 7 targets with 27 rushing attempts. This dude's gonna be in play every week, no matter the matchup.
Well, and he was fine, but that run was GOAT because it was a long touchdown and it got him past the bonus on that one, I believe. So It was just a massive, massive point run. And, you click to your contest immediately and see all your dollars going up and you're like, yeah, Shady.
Yeah. So the other chalky play at running back this week was, which I knew was going to be chalky. I was still surprised at just how chalky it was because I thought it had the potential to be a huge fish. Joe Mixon was 50% and above in some cash games on DraftKings.
That's wild. I didn't think he was a good cash play. And yeah, go ahead.
I was off of him, and then he broke that one that I was like, ugh. He had 3 targets and 11 rushing attempts. For his 11 rushing attempts went for a solid 18 yards.
And that's 1.6 a carry, homie.
So his 1.6, his efficiencies, not quite there yet. But and even in the passing work, he saw 3 targets. But he busted one of them, and so he had 91 yards receiving. And so I think a lot of people lucked out with that play, which I don't know. I wasn't on Mixon, and I think that was a bummer to see him get to his 13 points or whatever he got to on DraftKings.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I have trouble spending, what was he, 5.7?
Something like that. What did you go with your third running?
Well, this was not really a good choice, but Dion Lewis. And he didn't do that well. He was 4.6, I think, and got 7.4 points. Rex Burkhead took 7 targets and 7 catches. And, I mean, that's an issue with rostering the Patriots running backs. It's not like I didn't know that there would be other guys in the mix. But they took him out for a great deal. Like, he got the entire first drive, and he caught a couple balls, and then they just, stopped using him, kind of. So that's what you get for rostering a Patriots running back.
Yeah. Well, you could have been fish like me and rostered Matt Forte. I mean, it worked out. I mean, he got 11, so he wasn't much worse than Mixon. But I went with Forte solely because as weather was coming across, I don't let weather affect my decision making at all on Thursday and Friday, like some people do. Like everybody's on Twitter talking about weather, and it's Thursday morning or it's Wednesday night. I'm like, are you?
Oh yeah, meteorologist Twitter, yeah.
No, but this morning, I mean, it was pretty clear that it wasn't going to be a great game. So I thought New York was going to try to run the ball quite a bit. And so I figured Forte would get some work. But, I mean, they total ran less than 20 rushing attempts in this game, which Matt Forte lit up the offensive coordinator after the game for, which was nice to hear. But, yeah, he had 7 targets, which definitely made up for it. So
it made up for his 4 carries for 7 rushing yards.
But seriously, I mean, going into this game, the weather, everything else, how do you as a Jets team only run the ball, what is it, 18 times, 19 times?
Something like
they
that.
They get less than 20 rushing attempts, And it's did not see that coming.
I mean, I was not even thinking of Forte as a play. And, you gave me – I mean, we're texting. I got up at 6 o'clock to watch the London game. And you and I were texting, and you sent me a text. You're like, yeah, I think I'm doing Matt Forte. And I, rubbed my eyes. And I'm like, dude, am I still dreaming? Or, are you actually doing that? And
see, that's – I mean, I don't know. Maybe – This pricing on DraftKings has gotten into my head a little bit where I am stretching for some plays sometimes. But
look, dude, I played Dion Lewis. I don't know what to say. There was not that many good options down there.
No, it was because I tried to jam in AJ Green, which I think looking back, that was the mistake of the week for me.
What would you have done instead? Who do you have taken at wide receiver 1? I know the guy that I was thinking of instead of AJ Green.
I think I would have looked closer at these Seattle guys. And even though Baldwin didn't work out, I think Baldwin was price considered a significantly better play.
I would have taken Keenan Allen, and
I think Hopkins was my other guy who I think would have.
I think that would have been good.
Just because of the volume and everything else like that. I don't know. I should have. So tell me about the Keenan Allen. Did you end up playing Keenan?
No. I ended up doing AJ Green too, but I was considering. Dropping from AJ Green down to Keenan Allen. And AJ Green, he caught a touchdown, which saved him. But, I mean, 11.7 DraftKings points, not really getting it done.
Yeah, not getting done, especially when you had to sacrifice so much to do it. Yeah,
and this was crazy because this was a game. This was not a blowout. So for him to only get 3 catches for 27 yards is kind of wild.
Yeah, everything kind of went right. So I think if you went with the cheaper Cincinnati wide receivers, you were fine. But, I mean, Hopkins was $1,100 cheaper in a matchup where you could project very similar target share. I should have just gone with Hopkins or gone down to Baldwin as my wide receiver 1 and built a more balanced lineup. But I didn't.
Okay, so you went with AJ Green. So did I. What did you do at your last 2 spots?
Do we really need to –
this is where it falls apart.
Yeah, this went pretty egregious.
You're telling me your lineup. I'm like, yeah, I did all that.
This is where I went pretty egregious. I knew I wanted Pierre Garçon because I thought at his price point with the targets, I thought Pierre Garçon was the best at that 6K. The other guy I was looking at, which I know that most people weren't in the same price range, was actually T.Y. Hilton. because I thought T.Y. Hilton was underpriced for the amount of volume that he was going to get, and I thought it was going to be more of a blowout. So I thought Indianapolis was going to be throwing. But I ended up going to Garcon, and then it just kind of left me with my cheap wide receiver. And there were a couple different options to bounce around between, Robbie Anderson, Marquise Goodwin, Brandon LaFell. And I ended up looking at a bunch of different things, and I just couldn't make my decision this morning. And I chose Marquise Goodwin solely on the purpose of I thought San Francisco was going to have to throw the ball, and I thought he would be, throwing the ball much more than I thought Dalton or any of these other, the Jets or anybody else was going to do. And I was right from that standpoint, but I was wrong from the efficiency and everything else standpoint. So
what happened to Marquise Goodwin? He had 0 catches on 3 targets.
Yeah.
Was he, do you have a snap count for him? Was he playing? Was he there?
He was playing, so was Aldrick Robertson, but I think the news is that Bethard, he's not a good quarterback.
Oh,
DJ Betham's not a good quarterback. Like
you don't say.
I guess I just should have.
Should have factored that in.
I just thought the price point, he was going to be cheap. I thought Bethard was going to throw the ball 36 to 40 times, which he did. But it was a bad play.
Egregious. You kind of ran a little bad with Garcon because he left at a point with with some sort of neck injury, I think, or something like that.
The Garcon thing hurt. I don't feel bad about the Garcon thing. He's been seeing great target share.
Yeah.
Versus Philly offense or a Philly defense where that's where you can actually attack them a little bit. They got a pretty stout defense otherwise. So I thought the Garcon thing was fine. I don't feel fish about that at all.
Yes. Goodwin, not. Yeah. Just not one of your better plays. I'm going to be honest with you.
No.
And you want to know the worst part about this, Nate? In my seasonal league that is super important to me, you were sharing some of your projections with me, and I'm like, damn, maybe Goodwin is a good play. And I had a bunch of buys, so I picked up Goodwin. And
I told you Robbie over Goodwin, though.
Well, dude, I got scared because of the weather.
Ugh.
And Desmond Trufant, it's like, this could be bad. But I don't like 100-yard games with touchdowns. I'll just take a fat 0.
Robbie balled out. Okay, so what did you do at wide receiver that made you actually money this week?
Not much actually. I went AJ Green, Dotson, and Deshaun Jackson. And none of those guys really balled. Dotson got the luckiest luck box 1-yard touchdown for his only catch of the day in garbage time. So he ended up with the luckiest 7.1 ever. And Deshaun Jackson had 6.7. I thought Deshaun was a really good play. And Dotson, I was not that sure about, but I'm like, you know what? He's 3,900 for the same reasons you like Cousins. I was like, dude, they're probably going to have to throw in this game. Either be behind or just be in the game. And Dallas's cornerbacks are not that great, and he's a starter now, and he's athletic, and he's 3,900. So,
yeah, unfortunately, I was pretty excited when I saw Dotson ownership in cash because I saw so many people.
Yeah,
and he got 3 targets, so I felt good about it, but it didn't work.
I played 0. Maybe this is an issue because I played 0 Dotson in GPPs because I really didn't believe in him that much,
Well, yeah, Jamison Crowder was the one who really stole. Jamison Crowder ended the week with 13 targets. And Jamison Crowder was very clearly somebody who was a key cog in that offense. I think he led the week in weighted opportunity rating with over 47% of his team's air yards. So Crowder, he was definitely a fixture in that offense. So
crowd goat. Do you think that had something to do? Some people were saying a bunch of the linemen were out for Washington, and it's okay, their line's weak. They have to throw shorter now, and they use Crowder a lot.
Yeah, that's actually why I ended up getting off him. Yeah, that was ended up why I got off of Cousins and actually got onto Cowboys defense is because they were missing 3 of their not just average offensive linemen, but all pro offensive linemen, So
yeah. Okay, well, at least you did that. What did you do at tight end?
I went with Croft just because I think when I can have a cheap tight end who has a high team total, I really value team total when it comes to the tight end position because so much of it is made from touchdown equity. So I went with Croft and just took the correlation with my quarterback, and I felt fine about the Croft play. I mean, the Doyle hurt me, but I don't think it was a bad play.
Do you play a bunch? Do you play like more heads ups and double ups and 50-50s, or do you play a lot of 3-mans too?
I do a lot of 3-mans.
Okay. See, I'm okay with like getting some stacking in there. I think that for double ups and 50-50s and heads ups and stuff like that, it gets a little precarious even when your guys are in a good spot to have a quarterback, receiver, and tight end. Even if they're all good plays in a vacuum, I don't know, it just gets like sketchy there.
Yeah.
Because you can get screwed easily just by the running back scoring a couple touchdowns or it being like a heavy field goal game, something like that, Yeah,
it definitely adds variance. I was just drawn in. I mean, they had the third highest team total in the slate at an implied team total of like 27.2 or something, which was insane for Cincinnati. So I always, in that spot will lean towards a cheap tight end. So I was looking at Doyle, which I know you ended up doing, which made your week. So you want to talk
I'm like,
that?
dude, my lineup was not even that much better than yours, but because I had Doyle in cash, like I just like destroyed cash,
Yeah,
because
Doyle went nuts.
Yeah, Doyle had 33.1 and McCoy had 32.3. And when you have those two guys in cash, like you're pretty set, even though a lot of my other plays sucked.
Especially at your tight end position where most of the other ownership was on a bunch of these guys in like Cameron Brate,
Hunter
Ertz,
Henry,
and Cook, Hunter Henry, who all had less than 10 points. I mean, you had 20 plus points on most of your opposition in one position, which is huge.
Yeah.
For a similar salary, which, I mean, Doyle was a monster. I mean, he had 14 targets. He was second on the week overall receivers in weighted opportunity rating with the insane 35.9% of the target share for Indianapolis.
Lit. Super lit. That's great. And then at defense, what'd you end up with?
I went to Cowboys just because I needed to save some salary, and I felt good about it with the amount of offensive linemen ruled out. So I knew there was some sack upside, which I got a late touchdown at the end, which actually helped me swing a couple. I did end up cashing in a couple double ups and a couple 50-50s and some head-to-heads, but
that was a pretty sick suck out. What was Dallas priced at? I didn't even like go to
2,300. They were like the third cheapest on the week.
I'm kind of a fish. I played the Patriots at 2,400. And they scored 9 points. They did fairly well.
Yeah, I think the chalk was Bengals. I had the Bengals all week, and then I moved up to the Eagles this morning, just with all the weather news because I thought San Francisco. But then I was like, no.
I have Goodwin. I can't possibly. I gotta keep Goodwin and Garcon.
In retrospect, yes, I feel worse about that after.
It's pretty fishy, Nate. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna share.
They had a 15.5 implied team total, and I took 2 receivers.
I mean, when you put it that way, in retrospect, yeah, it seems a little thin, mate.
This is tough pricing on DraftKings, man. I'll tell you.
It's got you all twisted up, bro. You're tilted.
It's got me all twisted.
What did Davis get murked or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, right?
Here's how you know Davis get murked, because he didn't talk about how well he did. If Davis does anything slightly well, we hear nonstop about it. He got one call right, or it was a call he made right in the absolutes but didn't play.
Right. That's usually what it is. I did write this guy up as like my 4th wide receiver, and
I said Hopkins wouldn't be a bad play.
I wish he was here. I really miss Davis. He's kind of being a I mean, I don't want to call him mean names, but
But yeah,
I'm disappointed in him. Let's put it that way.
He's being sick is what he is.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Davis is one of those guys who he gets a little cold and doesn't know how to gear up and handle it,
Let's talk real fast, Nate. we haven't prepared anything, but let's just go off the cuff. A couple things that we learned today. I think the first thing we should certainly talk about, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, but I think this was a really defining game for Deshaun Watson. To the point where, he's on the road in Seattle. I thought Seattle was going to eat him alive. And they made some plays on him. They picked him 3 times. They returned one for a touchdown. They had 5 sacks. But at the end of the day, Watson just made monster plays and ended up with 402 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game of 2 QBs like just doing their thing, and Watson and Wilson both dominated. Wilson had a better game overall statistically, but I was probably more impressed with Watson just because Wilson going against this depleted Houston defense. And this Houston defense is bad right now.
It's really bad. Like, there were some amazing plays made, and I don't want to take anything away from Russ Wilson, anything like that, but late in the game, they're bombing stuff to Paul Richardson. He's just going up and grabbing it with uncontested. And it's like, dude, there's a minute left in the game. Why are you playing man coverage with nobody deep? Where's the safety? Yeah, what's this defense that you're playing?
Yeah, it's not good. They're gonna end the season as one of the worst defense. Just with Merciless and J.J. Watt and all these other guys.
Cushing. They lost Boye to free agency.
When you can't get a rush on the quarterback, it's tough, and Wilson can destroy you when you do that. So, but yeah, I thought Watson had a great game. I was very impressed with him, and it just proves that I think the first couple times we saw this, we didn't know, but I think it's just Watson is a play in any matchup. Is what I walked away with.
I did too. I mean, the matchups don't get as they just don't get it much harder than this. So
yeah, and then another takeaway at the quarterback position is that I think Andy Dalton with all of his guys, even in a chalk perfect matchup, can only muster 18 DraftKings points. Andy Dalton shouldn't be in play ever again. This Indianapolis team is literally, like we just talked about how bad Houston, and Indianapolis is even worse. And I think some people are like, oh, Dalton maybe isn't that bad. No, Dalton is still bad.
Imagine if Watson was in this matchup. He would have thrown for 725 yards.
Exactly. I mean, Dalton is bad. They almost lost. I mean, it was bad. It was not good.
Ezekiel Elliott had a monster game. He wasn't that owned, but he ended up with 33 rushes, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sometimes I overlook Zeke because he's basically at the same price point as Le'Veon Bell, and I'm just going to take Le'Veon almost all the time. But I think that Zeke probably has a little higher touchdown equity, and I don't know. I feel like the Steelers have kind of stopped throwing the ball to Bell as much, in the sense that sometimes they dump it off, but they seem to have stopped designing cool pass plays for him, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So I have a bias against Zeke just because of where he's priced and the lack of target volume. I want to see the 7-8 upside targets where Melvin Gordon, Gurley, Shady, and Lev can get. Where Zeke, I don't feel like he has that, but he has. He had 33 rushing attempts in this game. He only had 2 targets, but when you're getting 60% of your team's offensive share, that's in play. And the thing about Lev is, you're right. I mean, he was only targeted, I think, 3 times this game. And even in his targets, it wasn't actual play calls for him where they used to be. And I think that's just because they have a bunch of different guys that they're trying to get the ball to. Juju was a key factor for them in this game, and I mean, Eli Rogers was getting touches, and it was they were spreading the ball all over the place. I mean, I don't think AB had a catch until 2 minutes left in the half.
How good is AB? He really didn't even play that big of a role in this game at all. I mean, it seemed like they never threw him the ball. They threw it to him once.
That touchdown turned over hurt me a little bit on FantasyDraft.
Oh yeah, it did. But he still ended up with 10 targets, 5 for 70. I mean,
yeah,
it's tough. Juju, 10 targets, 7 catches, 193 and a touch. Obviously, that 97-yarder helped out a lot. But even aside from that, he had a pretty goat game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think so. That's Juju, man, he looked good. That 97-yard run or TD was pretty nice. So I guess my one takeaway would be Robbie Anderson. Even though this dude's only his volume from like just a pure target perspective might not look like it's there. I think
yards, bro.
Yeah, it's something where he's got speed and he just continues to make plays, and I think at his price tag, like he's definitely in play. His average depth of target this week wasn't crazy with only 11.83 depth of target, but with his speed and everything else like that, he's a factor, and he's somebody who I don't think is as bad of a close your eyes and play like some of those other guys at the 4K range.
I think another thing that we learned is that Drew Brees is not going to be the statistical Drew Brees that he used to be. It's kind of that thing. He's getting like quite a bit older in his late 30s, and we've seen this from other quarterbacks where they really start slowing down. And if you get a running game and a defense behind them, like they did late in Elway's career or late in Peyton Manning's career, it can really extend those guys and just be better overall for the team. And I think we might be seeing that with Breeze. They have two running backs that they absolutely love, Kamara and Ingram, and they really want to get their defense better. Lattimore's really helped them out with that, and their defense is actually like above average this season. So I think we're seeing a whole new dynamic with New Orleans. Yeah,
you hit the nail right in the head. I think Breeze is still efficient with his at home. He's gonna pass the ball around and be pretty efficient, but he only had 28 passing attempts, and 28 passing attempts, like your ceiling's just not gonna be there. So that's tough for Breeze because with Ingram and Kamara getting a total of 26 rushing attempts, it's a different New Orleans game, man. It's a different thing than in the years past when you just lock in Breeze and all of his
Breeze at home. He's going to throw for 350. Yeah. Anything else stand out to you? I don't know. The Patriots have not looked good. We're through the first half of the season for them. The Patriots have not really looked that great on offense all season.
No, the Patriots have not. And it's a little bit concerning just because there's I don't know. It doesn't even look like there's something specifically like one guy's just not playing well that I think it's going to turn around. I don't know. Yeah, Patriots are a little bit concerning, and obviously defensively still pretty rough. So one other takeaway for me, I think, is just the San Francisco passing game with CJ being as bad as he is.
I'm glad you learned something.
Carlos Hyde got 9 targets, and I think it was clear that like with his incompetent quarterback play, like these running back routes actually do have more value, where it's not like a guy who's going to be able to get it down the field all the time. So I think Carlos Hyde, you can count on a couple dump offs per game.
The last two things we touched on, Nate, we have to make a pact here. We have to promise ourselves I will no longer
play 2 wide receivers from San Francisco in cash.
Yeah, that needs to
I'm just going to set up a script where if I try to do that, my R code shuts down my computer and doesn't let it open for the next 24 hours.
Just straight auto exclude.
Yeah.
And I will no longer play Patriots running backs. I think that's a bad thing for me to do. It's just, dude, they give it to everybody. There's 4 different guys.
4 different guys. And you can't project it. Other than James White, I don't feel good about any of them having a significant week-to-week. White feels pretty locked into his passing market.
Yeah, I actually wanted White. I just couldn't. I needed the couple $100. I just couldn't get there because I'm a fish.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk Monday, Thursday slate real quick?
Yeah. Who's playing?
It's Kansas City. Kansas City is 1 second.
At home against Denver, and then Buffalo at the Jets on Thursday.
Yeah. So if I think obviously we have to wait till tomorrow to hear about the Emmanuel Sanders news. I think even if Sanders is playing, I don't think Sanders is going to be healthy enough that I would consider him.
No, he didn't. He didn't practice all week. He didn't get in a single practice.
So I'm pretty heavy on Demaryius tomorrow. I'm pretty heavy on Demaryius just because this Kansas City team does have some spots, where does have some soft spots, when it comes to wide receivers that you can attack. So I'm there, but I'm probably off the Denver running game.
Well, yeah, because the Denver running game's horrible. I like Tyreek Hill. I don't have the stuff in front of me, but I feel like last year, I think I remember Tyreek like going off against Denver, and people are pretty reticent to play any receiver against the Broncos, which is fully justified. But Tyreek Hill is used in many ways that's not like a typical receiver, right? Kansas City is going to do the things that Denver doesn't want them to do. What they want teams to do is just line up and try to beat them. And Kansas City doesn't do that. Kansas City runs all these little misdirections and dump offs and screens and like just all those little things that screw up good defenses. So I actually think that taking some Kansas City offense here could be a good thing.
Yeah, and I also think another note from Kansas City is I think Kareem Hunt probably won't go as owned because a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, you can't run on Denver," and yes, that's true. But I mean, Kareem Hunt also will get a ton of passing work in this game if that's the case, and I would almost rather have a running back with that target upside than just the rushing work. So I'm actually okay with Kareem Hunt, and I think if I feel he's going to go underowned, I mean underowned considering it's a 2-game slate, but underowned at all for what he should be, I'll be pretty overweight on him. I think you're muted, Sammy.
Sorry about that. I'm making a lineup. Yeah. I was just saying you can make a pretty lit lineup. I mean,
yeah, overall the pricing is comparatively to how tight it was this weekend, pretty soft for Monday, Thursday. That's why it was actually kind of fun making some lineups.
Oh yeah, like I'm just throwing guys in now. I got McCoy, Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Robbie Anderson, Josh McCown. I mean, and I still got like 5.4 left for my other spots with Chiefs defense in there.
Yep.
And I'm just like throwing stuff together right now, but you can go Fowler for 4.1 and then you're pumped, dude. This is great. I can get Kelsey in there. I mean, let's go Chiefs onslaught.
Yeah, I think if Sanders is out, I think I like Fowler again. But if Sanders is in, Fowler is kind of completely out for me.
Yeah. So, and we saw a couple of the Bills defensive backs out this past week. We have no idea if they'll be ready to go Thursday, so that could give a bump to the Jets passing game potentially. Guys like Curse, guys like Robbie Anderson. I think that Curse is like, I think people will play Robbie Anderson for just that reason. He makes sense. I think that Curse could be a pretty sneaky pivot. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just same position, similar price point, a guy that could easily get the touchdown variance on his side if that so happens. Dude, you have Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I think that's great. I mean, you got
the ASJ Kelsey thing will be tough because Kelsey's obviously the GOAT and can do anything in any matchup. But
yeah,
I'll probably go ASJ.
Yeah, and as always on these short slates, you're playing GPPs. A just real easy way to differentiate is leave like $1,000 on the table because almost nobody does that, and it just makes it really easy to think that you have good plays and make a unique lineup just doing that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So, all right, man. Well, gosh, I feel like it's time to crash. I'm spent. I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I mean, it's been a hell of a day, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that was a crazy day. Starting early in the morning with the Minnesota game where we saw Jarek finally get some work again, which is fun.
Oh, yeah. And, I'm on the West Coast. I'm in California. So I literally set my alarm for 6 a.m. because I have Diggs and seasonal and I had to make sure he was active. And then I'm just like, you know what, let's do this. And I just got up and I've been wired for like 18 hours now. So
hitting the Red Bull.
Yeah, that's it. I've literally had like 5 cups of coffee throughout the day. So was not needed, but it was a fantastic day, Nate. Even though Davis was not here, I'm very happy that I got to share this with you. Amazing moments we've had together on various podcasts after great baseball sporting events.
Definitely.
All right, you guys. Well, all you D-Gens playing Monday through Thursday, good luck. Hope your Sundays went well. This is Sammy for Nate for the RotoGrinders Daily Fantasy Football Podcast.